Yeah, my name's Gerald Barnes. I was in the courtroom, Ken Hovind and Paul Hansen, for the opening statements this morning. It's March the 3rd, Tuesday. It's about 10:20, and they broke for 20-minute recess. But both of the all of the opening statements have been made. The prosecution went first and made their opening statements. But I wanted to say that Ken Hovind's attorney did a very good job. He was his voice was very vocal, very loud. I had trouble hearing the prosecution. The U.S. Attorney is a young lady, and she wasn't speaking up very well, and I was straining to hear, even though she's using a microphone. But Ken Hovind's attorney, I don't even think he needed a microphone. He spoke very boldly, very loudly, and he said that the burden of proof is upon the government. These men are presumed innocent until proven guilty, and it's not Ken Hovind's job or Paul Hansen's job or their attorneys to prove their innocence. The government's got to prove that they willfully, with intent, filed these documents by mail, which they're charging with mail fraud and contempt of court, filed these documents to try to defraud the government out of the property that the government seized from the ministry from the first trial because of structuring charges, where the ministry pulled cash out of the bank and they pulled out less than $10,000 at a time. And anytime you do that, they can apply structuring to you. Structuring charges were originally set up to catch drug laundering money and drug laundering rings, but the IRS in past years has been applying this to lawful abiding citizens. And so over the period of 2 years in the first trial, they claimed that because you pulled out cash out of your own bank, your money out of your own bank, which totaled about $430,000 in 2 years, that you have to pay back you have to give us that money because we deem it was structuring. It's your money, but because you pulled it out of the bank in less than $10,000 amounts, we determine you're doing structuring, so that belongs to us. And since the money's been spent in the ministry, we're going to cease the property and sell your property to recover what we believe is the $430,000 that you owe us. And because they filed documents lawfully trying to challenge the government's assertion that they can take this property and sell it, they have charged them with mail fraud and contempt of court. But both of the defense's attorneys did very well presenting their opening statements, and Ken Hovind's did especially well, and he said the burden of proof is on the government, and you've got to prove that Ken Hovind, with willful intent, filed these documents in conspiracy with Paul Hansen to defraud the government out of this property, which was his property. It wasn't even his property, it was the property of the trust that had been set up. And so it looks very well at this point in time, from what I'm hearing. So praise God. I think Ken Hovind was pleased. He seemed to smile a couple of times when his attorney was talking. So I think right now things don't look good for the government.
Terry, I'd like to jump in. Just something I want to follow up. Do I need to take his and speak to his microphone? I think something, folks, that really kind of a rumor going on out in the media. Ken Hovind's not in for tax evasion. He's not in jail for tax evasion. He's in jail for structuring.
Right.
I think it is so important for us to understand. In fact, the accusations they're making in there right now have nothing to do with tax evasion.
No.
It's talking about the fact that he defrauded the government of money. Now, a point that he made that is very clear we need to understand is he withdrew about $434,000 of ministry money to pay ministry bills. It's not like he pulled $400,000 out and stuck it under a pillow.
Right.
And so when the government comes and says, listen, because of the structuring, that money is now ours. That's what this whole debate is all about, right?
Exactly.
It's unbelievable. And so they've painted him as a tax protester and a tax evader, and that is not even what this whole thing is about.
Well, Coach Dave, the sad thing of this is if you as a lawful abiding citizen pull money out of the bank in cash,
your own money,
or you deposit money in cash, less than $10,000, but over a period of a few years, that totals over $10,000, the IRS has they arbitrarily can say that you're committing structuring, that you're trying to avoid the reporting rule of $10,000 or more. Because if you deposit $10,000 or more, or you withdraw $10,000 or more, you have to fill out a form, which goes to the Internal Revenue Service, and most people want to avoid red flags.
So they set the limit at $10,000.
Right.
And if you withdraw under that, then they want to get you in trouble for not reporting the fact that you didn't draw.
I would say that maybe 50% of the American public could be, they could apply structuring laws to them today if they choose to do it.
So if the limit had been $9,000, then he would have been, they would have had to report it. But because he didn't want to report it, he didn't want the paper trail, he did whatever.
Right.
They said, here's the limit, 10,000. So he said, okay, well, we'll take out 9,500.
Right. But see,
we don't have to report.
You could take out $100 a week, and when you took out $10,000, they could charge you with structuring for each one of those $100. So they could potentially charge you for 100 counts of structuring.
Wow. Good reporting. Thanks.
I have a question.
All right.
About the way the law is written. In the original case, didn't they bring up the fact that the legal definition of structuring had a time constraint assigned to it? That it had that structured withdrawal had to be within a 24-hour period or something?
Well, they used to, when they first started structuring, they said that if you pull out more than $10,000 per day, that you're structuring. So drug launderers said, okay, we can deal with that. We'll just pull out $9,000 in the morning. I think I said if you pull out more than $10,000 at one time, you have to report it. So to get around that, or they say if you pull out more than $10,000 in a 24-hour day,
that's my understanding.
Okay, so what they do is they pull out $9,000 in the morning, and then they'd pull out, the next day they'd pull out $9,000, but it would be more than 24 hours.
But that doesn't fit the legal description of structuring.
Right.
If it's outside of that 24-hour window. So my understanding was Kent was taking out money to pay ministry bills on a 12-day cycle.
Oh yeah, like he might have pulled out $6,000 today, and then in 2 weeks might have pulled out $7,000.
So how do they interpret that to be structured?
Well, like I say, they arbitrarily have this power, the Internal Revenue,
to reinvent or manipulate the law.
Right, to say that you're structuring because you're doing this in such a way to avoid the $10,000 reporting.
Okay, so they're judging you on what their perception is of your intent.
Exactly.
Okay.
So what I'm saying is you can go to your bank and pull out $100 a week. Over a 2-year period, you might pull out $10,000. They could charge you, if they wanted to, with structuring. And what they do when they charge you with structuring, they can go in and cease all the money in your bank account. Even if they don't charge you criminally, they can go to the bank and say, we want all the money in this person's account because we have determined that they are structuring.